Educating, informing, serving. Fact TV, keeping government honest.
Are there any adjustments to the agenda?
Yeah.
Hearing none. On to minutes from the prior meeting.
Special meeting,
You wanted it special?
I was at the special meeting,
Not at the
but
regular.
regular meeting, but I will approve
The special.
the special meetings as printed. That was better.
Is there a second?
Second.
All those in favor?
Aye.
A motion to approve the minutes from the regular meeting.
I'll make a motion.
Is there a second?
Second.
All those in favor?
Aye.
Public comments. Yeah?
Yep.
Sure?
No.
Candid? Public comment? No? Kim?
Yes, on Thursday the 5th, David, I sent you an email asking for an update on the hazard mitigation plan. And when I didn't receive a response, a week later I sent you a follow-up message saying I didn't know whether you got it, but if you hadn't, here is the message again, and would you please do me the courtesy of a response. And I haven't received a response to either email.
I don't.
And I sent it to your, huh?
I don't recall seeing those.
Okay. So that's the answer to my first question.
Okay.
My second question is, and this may not be the time that you want to do this, but sooner than later I'd like to hear an update on the hazard mitigation plan. Because most people that I know that are involved with this don't know where we
start. Why don't we do that in boards and officials?
Okay.
Did you get my email? I forwarded.
Yes, I sent out a, thank you for doing that.
Okay.
I sent out.
I didn't see it, maybe it's.
No, that was a good message to get out to people.
Yeah.
So I sent it out to the committee.
Okay. Public comment?
I've spoken to each of the board members except Denise, and then I can cover this more on Article 6. But the special meeting that was held, I was not very comfortable hearing remarks that were speculative and unfounded in some cases, definitely out of order, and just in general the relationship between the board and the meeting house committee that I find disturbing. And I'd like to offer some fixes if I can. I'm willing to help out, but there's an awful lot of work and an awful lot of effort going into grants there, and the relationship between the meeting house committee and the board is not where it should be.
Okay.
My guess is there's a bunch of us who want to talk about that. Are you
Sure.
planning to do this in number 6?
And we are. All right. Anybody else for public comment?
I would like to ask if there's anything our health officer can do about the conditions over at the Woodard property.
On 35?
Yeah.
Oh, thank you, because I was thinking the same thing.
Because it's really bad. The creek is right there. You get a good windstorm, half that shit's gonna end up in the water.
We can,
Down on my property.
Mm-hmm.
Which property is this, Cindy?
Woodard.
Woodard?
It's actually, what is her name? Diane. Oh, what is her name?
Is she around?
No, she lives in Scotland.
No, but Carl is also one of the owners of On
Yeah,
Record.
Carl's on it.
So,
Yeah, John's up almost every weekend, doesn't he?
John?
but he does not own.
No, that's a
Oh,
different.
he doesn't own that part of the property?
no.
Yeah, we can. I will reach out to the health officer, see what he can do for that. So.
While you're reaching out to him, there's another property up on Brookline Road that he could probably take a look at. Also, a camper trailer right across from the pond that has there's a lot of trash flowing into the road and the pond.
To the beaver pond?
Oh, yeah, that one that, yeah, I noticed that one too.
I will reach out to health officer and talk about that. No other boards and no other public comments? Boards and officials?
I have a couple of things. One is, I think we can cancel the Google Meet subscription now. The meeting house isn't using it anymore and nobody else is. So we've just been paying $24 a month for a while without using it.
Okay.
The meeting house committee had been using it,
Right.
but they've moved to Zoom now, so nobody's using it, and we were still paying for 4 subscriptions.
I will make a motion that we discontinue the use of Google Meet. And if we can just note in there, if we're also doing that because we do have the Microsoft.
We can use Teams if we need to. Yeah.
If we need to.
I will second that motion.
All right. All those in favor?
Aye.
And the other thing is that I wanted to get an estimate for someone to come down and do some maintenance on the safes in the back. The combo locks are really sticky, and there's 2 that we can't open at all right now, and I'm afraid that the ones we can open might turn into ones we can't open if we don't have a little maintenance done.
Who do you,
There's a place in Rutland, I have it written down somewhere, not right here, but it was recommended at the Vermont Clerk and Treasurer Association conference that I went to in the spring. So I thought I would call them and just get an estimate.
well, I think some of them you can't open because we don't have the combo, right?
We have some combos, but
Well, what goes to which ones, how do you know?
they're a little messed up. Like, people have scratched out numbers on the combos and written other things, so it's hard to know, like,
Which are
what
which?
the right combo was.
Yeah,
So it might be that they have to, like, drill those out or do whatever they do to bypass.
All right, I make a motion.
I'll make that motion to have Hannah contact.
If it's gonna be, say, thousands, maybe just hold them back and come to us at the next meeting here. If it's, if it's just maintenance and working on them, but if they say, oh, we gotta replace this and this.
Yeah, is there a dollar value that?
How many safes do you have that need to be looked at?
There's 4 back there, two function currently, 2 don't.
And they'll
would-
probably charge a service call charge to come as well.
Yeah, I don't know if we necessarily need to put a figure on it, just that it be, if it is gonna be thousands, let's say, or excessive, that we at least talk about it before we spend that, but I don't wanna put a, say $200 on it and it's gonna cost $300 and now we won't come down and then have to wait another month.
Yeah, I don't wanna put a dollar figure on it, and right, but what we could do is just have Hannah contact them, and maybe we can tell you what his service charge is, what he generally charges.
That seems reasonable, yeah. Good
Yeah,
with
I can go back to you with whatever the.
Okay.
Well, yeah, and if it's not a huge amount, have them come, if it's gonna be a lot.
Okay, sounds good.
David, I have a question.
Yep.
What is in the 2 safes that you can't access? I mean, are there records that people may need to access? So really, does it matter a dollar amount if we have to get in to get those records?
As far as I know, it's unknown what's in those 2 safes.
It's not the
right
land
now.
records,
no, we thought one of them at one time was
Yes.
old school records,
School records.
and that we have to keep for like ever. But the other one, we never knew what was in it.
but it's been 40 years since they've been opened, so.
Oh, yeah. Never been open since I started.
Maybe we'll find some of those cemetery deeds we've been looking for.
Yeah, it
Yeah,
could be.
yeah.
Well, and probably not, you mean the valley?
Yeah,
Yeah, I don't think those would be there, but,
You never know.
it'd be nice.
all right, is there a second for that?
Second.
Right, all those in favor?
Oh, yeah.
Right.
Anything else?
I got a letter from Sevka asking for recommendations for people to be on their board. So I'll just put it out there that if anyone's interested in being on the board of Sevka, I have some information about it and I can recommend you or you can go to them directly.
I'd be happy to find out more.
Great.
How many did they talk about?
I don't think they gave a number. They were asking for recommendations. They want to expand the board. So I have the letter here. I didn't mention a number.
Can I just get a photocopy of that?
All right, Darlene, anything for boards and officials?
No.
Yeah, for the town meeting survey, everyth's pretty finalized. We're just waiting for the email template before we send it all out. And we're gonna do first digital, then by mail. I know that you've already said that, but that is our next step.
It's for mailing or for electronic?
First, we'll do electronic to save on mailing, and then we'll see who hasn't responded, and we'll send.
Can I just,
Yeah, please.
can I just add to that? And the emergency committee did the same thing, and we only had 16 responses digitally. So that raises the question as to if we want to reach deep, we're going to be needing to do a mailing. Funds for that, because we don't have a budget.
How much do we think for,
Yeah, 190 letters we sent out from emergency management.
How much did it cost overall for what we just did? Do you know offhand?
Overall, no, I don't. Hannah might know.
So,
You're getting reimbursed like $400 today, I think, Tim?
What's that?
I think you're getting reimbursed like $400.
Yeah, that would be the total cost of not only the mailing, but also the cleanup of the cots and the trailer.
Oh, okay, so that was more than the mailing,
So can we budget for 200 and return what we don't use?
I think that's reasonable. I'll make a motion that we plow up to, 200 for the, survey.
Can I just raise a question here,
Sure.
David? Hannah called me today and she's left a bundle of envelopes that were returned from people whose physical address is correct, but mailing address on these labels were wrong. So I'm just giving you guys on the meeting committee a heads up on that, what did we use? Did we use the, voting, or did we use, which list did we use?
It was a combination of the grand list and the voter list, and Lynn worked to combine them all.
Yeah. Well, as you can see here, a bunch of these are not good.
Probably for the survey on town meeting, we just wanna run off from the checklist, I would think.
Although our voter checklist, it needs a lot of maintenance for addresses right now, so.
I mean, if you know there's an address wrong, I'll
Yeah, I mean,
look it up
it's on me to try to update it before the general election because the state's mailing out ballots to every voter. But right now, I would say there's maybe 10% that are missing or incorrect addresses. Just because of how people have registered over the very, very many years and things haven't gotten updated.
Is that something the Board of Civil Authority can look at, in a meeting, to review the addresses and say, oh, we know this one's wrong or that one's wrong, like we do with the names? Yeah, the address is on.
We could do a pass.
Yeah, as long as you know what their exact mailing address is, because, I mean, we may know their physical address, but not their mailing address.
Well, yeah, but, I mean, that might be a help to do some of them anyways. Anything else?
Those are commissioners.
Boards and officials?
I think the only update, I mean, we're gonna get to more matters related to the meeting house under item 6 on the agenda. I think the only update that I have is that Don and I paid a visit to the window shop last week and saw in action some really amazing stuff that these guys are doing on the windows and the quality of the work and the, I don't know, Don can probably speak more to it than I can because
I got
things
pictures.
meant things to him.
Yeah, I got pictures I can forward to anybody who may be interested.
But it was pretty impressive, and they were
Yeah.
thrilled that we were interested in coming to see it.
I was wondering how they did what they said they were able to do, and so I found out a lot of it had to do with a vertically mounted router on slides, and it was very impressive.
Is it like a CNC machine?
Yeah, well, a manual version of that, yeah.
And then I guess the only other thing is that we expect, they have the second half of the windows now, they'll be into, what, I think they said in about 2 or 3 weeks.
Oh, I missed that, I don't know.
To reinstall those. I think that the crew right now that's doing the work on the windows will be the ones that start to do the carpentry work to repair the door sills, and I was pleased with that because one of the things that we saw in the shop was they had a big piece of wood laid out, and it would be that staple mahogany, I would guess, right, Don?
Yeah, it was mahogany. It was a replacement threshold for the elliptical window over the center door.
And boy, the rock that we saw in that piece of wood that was under the Palladium window in the back of the building was amazing. So they're gonna have that all cut out and new, and when I saw that, it was like, oh, who's gonna do that work? And it appears that it will be these same guys, and they're really good. So I was pleased with that. And I'll be trying to schedule a visit down here as a site visit when they're on site with Lisa Ryan from Preservation Trust. I think that's it. I don't think there's any other.
Sherry, can I ask you a question? Did you have some questions about some of the work that they had done? I know when we were talking about paying off some of it, the third,
right.
And I understood that maybe you had some hesitancy or some questions.
I wanted to have Don meet me at the building to look at a couple of things. There was, what I saw was a gap in where the, like the windows, the inner part of the windowsill and the window came down, and we're guessing that it was like that before.
Yeah.
And then there was one piece of trim on the side that probably will be epoxied and painted when they do the rest of the work, but I wasn't sure, and that's kind of what we assumed.
Okay, I was just wondering because I knew
No,
that
I know.
I had heard that.
Yeah, I remember hearing that question.
Okay, very good. Thank you.
Yeah.
Yeah, the cemetery commission met at the beginning of June, and I completely forgot. Sandy and I went up to do the veterans flags on both cemeteries. We did the Athens Valley. Went up to the West Cemetery, and some mysterious entity put out all their own veterans flags on our veterans tombs. I don't know, I think it was like 22 or 24 flags, something like that, and they had a couple of extra. I kind of called around best I could if anybody knew, who these people were. I mean, it would have been nice for the commission to know that somebody wanted to do this. So we have a list of veterans so that nobody gets missed if a marker disappears. But yeah, if anybody has any information on who put all the flags.
But they only did the Upper Cemetery, not the.
They just did the West, yeah.
Yeah, the West, not the Valley.
Yeah, which saved the town money.
I was going to say it saved us money.
And it was a
nice gesture.
I wonder if that's who it was.
No, you have to tell me who they are.
No, they run around and do it, like,
It
in
can also
secret,
be a
because they
family
don't
member
want to be
who has
affected.
a
They want
trip,
the public just to do it.
everybody knows.
Good.
I don't know, I mean, personally speaking, the only problem I had with it is Don and I sort of make a little ceremony out of this, so we always say the veteran's name and we repeat it, so it's sort of like the only time during the year that they are physically remembered.
Yeah.
So it sort of bothered me because I just felt like it was somebody who went up and just changed out new flags. Because we don't have any ceremony anymore with it, like we used to with the kids.
We did go around with a checklist, so I'll make sure no veteran got missed.
Yeah, we did check.
And nobody had.
No? No?
No.
Who would have that list of who would?
Oh, they just went wherever they saw it,
Yeah,
The old flag.
yeah, last year I got the flags off of the Valley Cemetery, but never made it up to the West Cemetery, so the flags are still there.
Tim, and you mentioned,
Well, let me just give a
well, let me,
quick update on the committee, and then
Okay.
we'll get into the hazard mitigation. The committee has been very busy over the last month doing a number of chores, one of which was cleaning the cots and the trailer, which has been done now. And just recently, we got out the mailing, which is to update our records about a variety of items that informs us of people, residents, neighbors in our community that may need our assistance during an emergency. So that was good. That's a lot of work. I want to give a special thanks to Don and Sherry and Lynn Morgan, Bonnie Hitchcock for all their help in getting this work done.
Wasn't Tina there for comp cleaning?
Who?
Tina White?
No,
Oh.
No?
no, that was the day I couldn't make it.
were the cots moldy or anything in the trailer?
No, you know, it was in surprisingly good shape.
Okay.
Yeah, but we cleaned everything, and including the inside of the trailer, the other contents that were there. We found some, what are they called, MRIs or?
MREs.
MREs. We found a bunch of them.
Yep. Well, that's good.
Yeah, so let's go to the
So the
hazard mitigation.
The last hazard mitigation update that I had, Alyssa Sabato had talked to us about combining our efforts with Brookline.
Right, good point, right.
Brookline was open to that idea. It wasn't a formal thing that we did. And then we had to get permission from the state to do that. That would have combined the funds that we got and the funds that Brookline got to do their plan again, and then we would have had to have put that out as an RFP to get a contractor in to do that. I have not heard that the state has approved that the two towns do that. And that's the last that I have heard. We were waiting on the state to do that. If you've heard something more,
I do know Alyssa, I think, is a bit anxious that we are not further along in this process. So I don't know what would do the answer. I mean, is there someone that could be called at the state level?
I know Alyssa had reached out to the state about that to get the information on, to see if the state will grant that. I don't know if the state then has to go to FEMA to get permission for that or not. But that's the last that I heard.
Did Vermont Emergency Management have anything to do with this permission?
It would be Vermont Emergency Management that manages the grant from FEMA that gives it to us, is my understanding.
Because Alyssa encouraged us to get in touch with one Carolyn Paskey.
Yes.
Of VEM. And I'm just wondering whether she would be the person to call to find out where this whole business with Brookline stands.
It certainly wouldn't hurt to try and do that. And we can, if they don't grant that or they don't come through with some kind of an answer for us, we can always set out on our own to set out an RFP to write the plan. Alyssa has indicated that Wyndham Regional could be a bidder on the project. They won't help us with the RFP because they may bid on it.
Oh, they are going to bid on it.
But that they have, currently they have a lot of work writing other plans for other towns within the district. And certainly we'll look at all the bids that come in for it, but I do know that Wyndham Regional certainly knows our community and works with us, so, as I say, we would look at all bids, but Wyndham Regional certainly, I would like them to be considered.
Well,
certainly
Alyssa,
for this.
as I think you'll recall, was involved in the last time.
She was.
She was very helpful.
She was very helpful with that. I've known other towns that she has helped with lately, and she is very helpful. She knows what is needed. She knows what should be there, what shouldn't be there, and with the idea that if they're too busy for that, they wouldn't put an RFP in. I think they would be certainly they're a known quantity that does good work, is I guess what I'll say.
It's my understanding, David, and correct me if I'm wrong, but I think Alyssa concurred with this understanding, that once we get the consultant or whoever it is that is going to facilitating us with this process, that there will be a meeting that will include the select board, the emergency management, the road foreman, and I think that's it. Who were the personalities that were included in the last time we did this?
Well,
is your understanding that?
Well, it wouldn't necessarily be limited to that. It would be open meeting that anybody could come to talk to, you know, share their ideas or concerns. So it wouldn't be a set number of people. These are the only ones that can be here at this, you know.
But these would be people that would be specifically invited because of their particular knowledge of the town. But yes, I agree with you, it is an open meeting.
Yep. Okay. So anybody that comes that would have an interest in that, you know.
So let's go back to Carolyn Paskey. Do you want to make that call? Do you want me to make that call and find out where things stand with our request to do this with Brookline?
Well, let me give her a call. If I can't reach her or if I get stonewalled there, maybe I'll call on you to help me try to make some more calls to the state there. The more calls, the better to the state.
And we do know that the state has received all the information from us and from Brookline that it needs.
Oh, I mean, we've got the grants, so there's no, it's just them allowing us to combine and do one plan for two towns.
Okay. And David, what again, refresh my memory please about the grant and what its purpose is, what it allows us to do. Is it hire the facilitator that's going to walk us through this?
Well, I wouldn't necessarily call him a facilitator, I would call him the grant writer.
Okay.
Not a grant writer, but the emergency plan writer.
But that's what the grant is for that person?
That's correct.
Okay.
Or that firm to assist us and.
Right.
And so the select board, the emergency committee, the road commissioner, will just give information to that group, person or group who will write the plan, and it's not, well, we did a lot of the writing ourselves the last time.
Yep, we did all of it, as I remember.
Well, I think Alyssa helped with
right, Alyssa held our hand.
But it will be more that they write the plan to get it in the form that FEMA wants, so that it will be approved and we won't have to go back and forth 3 or 4 times, as some towns do.
So if I don't hear from you, say in a week, I'll assume that you made contact with Carol.
Why don't we do this? I will contact you either way.
Okay, good enough. I think that's it. Thank you.
Anybody else wish?
I did just want to add, I tried calling the FEMA person, Chris Doherty, remember that letter that you gave me? I've tried twice now, both through phone and email, and still no answer, which is very not surprising. So I guess I want to turn back to the select board and what is our next step? Who can hold authority over FEMA, given that our floodplain regional planner also doesn't respond to our calls?
I don't know that there's certainly anybody in this town that can hold authority over FEMA to do what we hope them to do, but
that's a good thought, though.
I might reach out to Hillary, who may have more sway with them than anybody here.
Hillary has tried to stay out of it because...
No, I understand that, but he may be able to speak with somebody who will say, hey, answer this town's questions.
Okay.
I mean, and not to say that we want to throw Hillary into it and say, hey, can you do this?
Yeah.
But we may be able to facilitate us getting in contact. And if he doesn't want to, I mean, that's fine, we can try. Try other avenues, I guess. I mean, we could contact the congressman, the senators, and say, hey, this is something that we want.
Yes.
But let's try Hillary first to see if that works. I would rather do it with finesse than the club of the senator's office calling.
Great, I appreciate it. So I'll try Kish just one more time, and then I'll do Hillary, and then if not, if Hillary can't help, then I'll try Welsh. Thanks.
He will probably want to help us more than anybody else.
Welsh. Trying to get those.
He's
those
running for
votes.
election, he probably won't want to. All right. Anybody else from board and officials?
Did I mention we're done with FEMA?
You have.
Okay, good.
I
I
mean,
can't remember these things.
we are complete, we're not
We
done.
are,
Yes,
We're
they
not
no,
done.
we are complete.
We are
Yeah,
complete, we're not done.
We're not done, we're never done.
We're never done, but we are complete, and at some point, we will be getting a reimbursement check for over $58,000.
Yes.
And for this section, it's a different
Different
level of
branch of FEMA.
Different
Yeah.
branch, but let me tell you, same issues.
So we'll go on to the Meeting House loan repayment issue. And this was brought up to be put on this agenda at a special meeting. No decisions or anything were made at that meeting. But probably it was not handled as well as it should have been. If what people said here hurt other people on the committee, the Meeting House Committee, and especially Sherry, has done enormous amounts of work, grants, everything over the years to save the building. I'm not sure the building would still be standing if we hadn't done the work that we have done since then. And if I or the board, our sensibilities weren't right that night, I would apologize to Sherry that if you feel that way, if I said something that was untoward, I apologize for that. But I think everybody here understands the work that's been done and the good work that's been done at the Meeting House. So with that, I'll open it up to, I don't know who wanted, was it you or was it you that wanted on the agenda?
I did.
Okay, and I'll let you speak and then we'll go around the room.
I don't know if everybody's had a chance to glance over the handout that I had tonight. So that was basically it. I went through from 2016 when the loan was first given out up until 2021. I wasn't going to start delving into this year because this year we have a lot of work being done with the windows and that kind of grant. And I'm trying to keep it as impartial as possible, and you know, I think there was a lot of miscommunication on both sides, not understanding that it was considered a loan, not a grant. There was never a repayment schedule set in place, which I think was also an error on both parts. If they had agreed at the original meeting to do like $1,000 a year, it would not have affected your bottom line that greatly, and you would have already paid off a decent sum. So, you know, all I can say is what I wrote down here. I delved deep. I have a copy of everything that I pulled from town reports, from select board meetings, from meeting house meetings, and from the rehabilitation fund. And the other issue concerning this is the rehabilitation fund, because we have sort of used it as a private bank, you might say, when we have become short funded in other areas, like with the meeting house. It would take some forensic accounting to go through and explain where all the money's gone, because I know there was, on page 1, 1997, $1,600 was handed to Lois Sipple and Kathy Woodbury for trimming the trees and having a couple of trees cut down by the meeting house. I don't know if that was ever considered a loan, if it was ever paid back, because there is nothing in the minutes to tell me this. I would have to go back into the financial records to see if the money ever came back to us. As far as I'm concerned, I think the rehab fund has sort of hit a dead end. Wyndham no longer has theirs. It was gone a long time ago from what I understand. We have used ours probably not always in the best ways, using it as a private fund for things. You know, maybe it's time to consider taking that fund and splitting it in an appropriate manner. You know, this is my opinion on that, but I just did a lot of work trying to find out where the money went, how the money's been spent between these two funds and between the town. And frankly, the rehabilitation fund in the past 32 years has probably only been used by 4 people. And, you know, as far as I know, the majority of them have paid the money back. One of them did not take the money because of a disagreement with a select board member, no longer on the board. So I think we need to have a conversation between the meeting house committee and the select board concerning that $15,000 that is still outstanding.
Cindy, I just have a question. And I greatly appreciate all the work that you put into this, and I think the insight that it brings to not just this issue with Meeting House, but the question that I have, and I don't see it here in the information, is I'd be curious as to what was in that fund when it first came into the hands of the town.
Well, that was 1990, and the book is over there, and that is one thing I forgot to write down, is how much money came into that fund.
Initially, we had $100,000 in the fund.
When it came into the town?
Yes, town of Wyndham and the town of Athens had $100,000.
Each or the?
Each. Because David was on the select board at one time during this whole process.
An organization that assisted us in getting the money, offered to manage the money is in
So David, I think you're answering the question I had. The one I have is when it actually came to be managed by the town, not by Wyndham Regional.
I can't tell you offhand because I didn't write it down. It wasn't $100,000, let me tell you right now. It was nowhere near that, because Wyndham Regional managed the money and they took a good chunk of it.
60 to 70,000, and I can't tell you the exact amount, but they took 60 or 70,000 of the 100,000 as management of the money, and then turned it over to us.
So there were
afterwards, and we have managed it doing the same thing they did for that. So that was unfortunate at the time that we agreed to that management contract, certainly.
Yeah,
everybody at the time felt that we had been
screwed.
Well, I'm not saying that, but it
Overcharged.
and there have been at least a couple of, and I don't know if Sandy was there, but at least a couple of conversations, if not applications, for money since then that we haven't had the money to loan out to them. Somebody needed a well, there was somebody had some damage to their property, and we didn't have the money to loan them to them. So I know.
And
at least
I
of
wasn't
those.
there for those, and I could not
And it
find
was-
any minutes concerning that, because that is also another issue we had with the meeting, not the meeting house, with the rehab fund, is there are 2 binders. There are no minutes for several years. There are spotty minutes. There are minutes that are attached with the select board minutes, so they aren't in the binder that they should be in. So it was a little hard to find that paper trail, and like I said, you know, really you'd have to have somebody who is an accountant to do some of this work.
I think the only times that the Rehabilitation Fund Committee would meet is if somebody had an application, presented it to the town, and then they would meet to discuss that. There was one time a remortgage on a property that we had a meeting on that.
Yes, and I found not minutes for that meeting, but I did find the payment when it was paid off. I mean, this is the problem with these minutes, is they are not consistent. I personally feel that if you are on a committee in this town, or commission, or a trustee, at least once a year, you should have a meeting, just so you can make sure that your financials are in line, and make sure that, you know, if you need to redefine your guidelines, you do that. And if you need to set up your board to have somebody else be a chair, or somebody be the minute taker, that you do that, because we've let this go quite a bit, and not just with the meeting house, or, excuse me, not just with the rehabilitation fund, but other boards have done the same thing, where, you know, it's been years since they actually sat down, you know, they're sort of like, oh, really, we're on the same committee?
So that's not an unreasonable, thing, so.
So I gotta, since I'm new to this whole situation.
Me too.
Yeah, but you're more involved in town that way than I. So the rehabilitation fund, is that what they used to call the overseer of the port, I
No.
think? No, that's
Totally
a different thing.
different.
That's a totally different thing.
This money, it wasn't state money, it was federal money, and India said state, but
Yeah.
it was federal money. It was a grant that was applied for Athens and Wyndham, and we were awarded $200,000, $100,000 for each town. Once the management agreement expired, the sums came to the town had to form a committee on it to do the management work that had previously been done by the contractor.
David, when money first came in, it wasn't the rehabilitation fund. It was something else, and I can't remember.
There have been a couple of different names going around. I think in the town report, it's referred to as the Housing Grant Fund, or something like that. But it's also been known as the Rehabilitation Fund. There's something else that they called it at one time. So, you know, I think it's very confusing. Is it a grant fund? Is it the Rehabilitation Fund? The committee never really changed the guidelines once that money was handed over to the town. So.
No, the guidelines that were.
The guidelines that were in place are still the ones that
Yes.
are in place, and if you read them, then you realize if the money is always and only supposed to be used for a residence, for somebody who needs something in emergency, or maybe they want to do an addition, and it would be a low-cost loan with a sliding scale of interest. And at the original, when it originally came out, there was a guideline for how much you earned meant how much you could borrow. So.
David, just going back a step or two, was the town required by the Fed or anyone else to have the WRC manage this grant? Were we required to do that?
I don't recall. That was a long
A
time.
long time ago.
Thirty.
Statute of limitations fortunately
Well,
has
Thirty
expired.
something years, yeah.
Yeah, it was over 30 years ago, and I think what happened is the feds gave the money to the state handed out the money to the towns, and then the states might have required that somebody else handle the
Yeah.
management part of it, which is why Wyndham Regional. I'm just saying, so this might be the case of it. It's just hard to really tell with, the paperwork that's available. And of course, there's really nobody that remembers that far back now.
Maybe? So, but here we are today. Yeah, I also want to thank you, Sandy, for all that work. I actually think there's a point you raised towards the end, which I hope is something that the select board and the meeting house committee can work more closely on in the future, which is, you know, what is long-term operating sustainability for that asset look like? Because it's not gonna be easy. I mean, there's a lot more capital dollars that have to go in, and then I think you're absolutely correct, an operating plan for operating it, and it's an ambitious effort for a small town.
Yes, it is.
Something that Denise has heard me say many times. I, however, think it's something we can do, and I think it's something we can aspire to. It certainly will require us to work more collegially than we have. And for me, I appreciate your apology, David. I presume it comes from the whole committee and not just from you. Because frankly, I gotta tell you, as somebody who works with elected officials and councils like this all over the country, the recording of the special meeting was appalling. And I have never heard anything like that anywhere in this country. And I think to start to fix it, we have to stop referring to the meeting house committee as Sherry. The meeting house committee is 5 citizens of this town who are elected and rotate from time to time on and off. They're citizens who volunteer, and we have to stop referring to the meeting house committee as Sherry and the town as opposites. The meeting house committee is a board and committee of the town, and there are people who work for the town and they're trying to restore this asset.
Yes, and I think that's something that I would agree completely with, that we need to understand that we're all working together in the same effort. We may be thinking at something in different ways or looking at things, but we're all looking to support that building and.
Yes, and we all gossip in our kitchens, have opinions about each other, but when we're here, we're working for this town.
And Sherry, I am one on that recording, and I was not voicing my voice to you as Sherry, but as Candace was saying, as the meeting house committee. It's just, to me, the meeting house committee is more than just you, but it came out as you, and I was in no way putting it on you.
I don't have the count, and I didn't want to count it. But the number of times that the reference was she this, she that, she has no intention. She intentionally worded articles so the town could not grab the money. Those are the things that were on that recording.
I think what has happened is you've become the figurehead for the meeting house committee, and therefore you have the target on your back.
Well, there's 5 of us, and
Yeah.
we change.
Yeah, exactly.
And Sherry, I was not in any way putting it on you. It was, I was using the wrong pronoun, and I do apologize, because when I was saying she, I wasn't saying she as Sherry. I was talking about the whole committee, and I do apologize.
So, I would like us to move forward.
Me too.
And-
So
and-
second point there. The meeting house committee has raised $200,000 of non-taxpayer money for this town for the restoration of this asset. And is working really hard to make the loan repayment, and I think tonight we're gonna propose, I appreciate, Sandy, your proposal, but I think we just need to shed this loan so that we can move forward more productively. So we're gonna present you with a formal letter when this is done, and you know, it reflects yesterday's thinking, not today's apologies, but, you know, so there it is. And it cites a variety of letters that we've sent that haven't been acknowledged that propose various repayment terms, including a $2,500 repayment that, for reasons that we're baffled by, the select board hasn't authorized the taking of. So that's why there's a $15,000 balance rather than a $12,500.
Yeah, because that was
So
one of my questions right
we
there.
presume that you can move tonight to immediately authorize the taking of the $2,500. So then where's the rest of the $12,500? We're in the middle of a construction process. It is, as Sherry and Don said, going really, really well. We're delighted with the contractor who seems to be moving like right on schedule, scope, and budget with really high quality work. It's exciting. If it gets delivered, keeps going the way it is, we should have sufficient funds to repay the loan at the end of the project. Now the vast majority of the funds that the committee has raised are restricted by the terms of their grant or donation to actual capital investment in the building, but there's something like 12,000 and change that's unrestricted that represents the fundraising that the committee's been doing, the raffles, the community events, and you know, it's built up and it's been invested. So we feel, the four of us who signed the letter, that we should just pay off the loan, assuming that the project comes in on budget and on schedule. There may be some change around the edges, which I hope we can just forgive so that we can move past this and get on with things. But that's the proposal. And it's written more formally in the letter.
I'll make a motion that we accept the proposal.
I'll second that.
Any more discussion on it?
I, for one, will just be happy to get over this big hole in the road
Yes.
and move forward.
All right.
So,
Yeah,
just for, once again, I'm being new on board, so the proposal that you're giving, could you just, 2,500? And then at the end of the project,
You all should vote to take 2,500, which is, as far as we're concerned, that's not Merrick County anymore.
Yeah.
We're on an accrual basis, it's not me.
okay,
We're not, we're on a cash basis, but if we were
Right.
thinking accrual, the $2,500 has been y'all's for 6 months,
okay,
and for some reason you haven't taken it.
Right.
So there's another 12,500,
Yeah.
which we are proposing to repay on or about January 1st,
okay.
hopefully earlier. When we know that the current capital project will be delivered on time, on budget, which there's no reason to think it won't. And if there's a little bit of, it's not quite 12,500.
Yep.
There's a little bit of slush around the edges, but that is a loan amount that can be forgiven, which is laid out more formally here.
Could we try and make it before January 1st so that it closes out
Close the
the
books.
year?
Yeah, December 31st, January 1st,
Mhm.
what's the difference? Yes,
But, I mean, just for
Because
the
our
auditors,
financial year ends the
Yes.
31st.
yes.
just so that it's, you know, that it can be closed out, everybody can see it in the town report. All right, any more discussion, Tim?
Yeah, I'd just like to make a general statement that this all reflects, David. And I do so with all respect to all of you. I think that one of the things that I have felt lacking is the board recognizing the hard work of the volunteers in this town. And by that I mean at a public meeting such as this, one of you making the motion that I want to give a shout out to Don Caponcelli for all the work that he's done, blah, blah, blah. Or other people, I use him as an example. And the reason I say that is because from the moment I came into this town back in '93 and got involved with attending meetings, there were townspeople, old timers who had been here and said, you know, that's a waste, that you're gonna suffer this, it's terrible, blah, blah. It was all negative about the select board. And I don't know the truth or the falsehood of any of that. What I do feel though is that I feel like we do need to have resident participation at these meetings. And I think that it would encourage that if the word began to get out, that the select board was respectful of and recognizing people that do extend themselves at no, for no monetary benefit, just because they love the town and love the work they do for the town. So I would, as I said, respectfully suggest that maybe you consider that as a select board, when it's appropriate at a given time, when someone has done something, you say, there would be almost like a motion that is made, in which you give a shout out to whoever for doing the work. And I think that would make all of us that do extend ourselves feel valued and feel like, oh yeah, I'm not gonna quit, I'll keep working. So
I mean, I think that's not unreasonable, Tim. I mean, really, everybody in town government,
everyone what?
Everybody that works for the town, elected positions, volunteers, things like that, they do it voluntarily.
Yeah.
I make 68 cents a day for like an off here. I get a check at the end of the year. And it's not nobody makes money at this. Nobody does it, monetary gain, but for their own glory or for their thing. They do it because, just like you said, they care about the town, they care about the people in the town, and want to improve things. So, now people may disagree, and that's reasonable, but we shouldn't be disagreeable with each other.
Right, but what I'm saying, David, is I agree with you that people that do this, do it not for the money or anything like that. Or even for the praise, they're not coming. What I'm saying is, in terms of creating goodwill in the town, I think it's good for the select board to set that kind of an example by saying.
I'm not disagreeing.
Okay.
Just to be appreciated.
Yeah.
Well, I thought this is where you were going, Tim, but I was recalling multiple comments made about nobody ever does anything in this town.
Yeah.
That was the one that, I remember being greeted with early on.
Yeah.
And, there are a whole bunch of us that do a lot, And, yeah.
And most of it is unseen and unknown, and people may say, oh, they don't do that. But
And you guys aren't doing it for the money either. And we all
well, that's
know
what I'm
that.
saying. I mean, whether it's us, whether it's a meeting house committee, people may very well say they don't do it, they're not doing it right, they're not doing, everybody has an opinion. But I think everybody tries to do the best they can with what they can and spend their time and energy for it.
Well, my quote is, there's a lot of responsibility living in a small town. I come from Agawam, Massachusetts, town of 30,000 people, lawn sign battles for school board and all this crazy stuff that we can't even imagine here. But this work has to be done, and I think all of us here realize that, and that's why we all do what we do. But there's got to be more of us, and I'm starting to suggest to the next generation, if you're not willing to do it, then I can easily see town government being taken over by county seat form of government with with paid auditors and paid fire and fire stuff like that. I mean, the work has to be done.
Yes.
I don't think people realize the amount of work that goes into any committee, any commission, or being a trustee in this town. I was a lister for 23 years. I made the big bucks. One year I made all of $1,500. And people don't realize, you get attitude, we don't want you in our house because you'll see what we did. But people, this is how grants are based on our grand list. The state's looking at our grand list, and that's how we're getting money to fix our roads, for our schools, for everything. And people just have this very narrow view sometimes of what it is.
So hopefully we can move on from this and
Yep.
work more collaboratively.
Yep. Sorry, can I also make a comment?
Sure.
I know some people don't know, but I just want to know sort of the amount of caring that is happening for each other right now. And in this recognition of wanting to be recognized and all across the board here, right? And so much that we do for our neighbors. And also, you know, the reminder that inflations have gone up, the wages have stagnated, civil, those who are engaged civically don't get paid to do it, yet we're still having these problems and they keep getting worse by the year, right? So just want to acknowledge that there's a lot, amidst all of that, there's a lot of caring in this room. And it's natural for humans to have conflicts, and it's nice to, it's a breath of fresh air to see us working it out in this way.
Okay, thank you. All right.
How do you do, buddy?
The motion on the table is to accept the agreement of transferring the $2,500 from the meeting house account to the housing delegation account, and then the 12,000, give or take, the 12,000-ish, and we don't have the exact figure on that, to be repaid at the completion of the current project. Is that correct?
Or possibly we'd like it prior to December 31st if possible.
Yes, but I understand, but that's not necessarily needs to be in the motion, but at the end of the project. So if the project stalls and something happens and we can't finish it until January, February,
Then that's what
So we-
happens.
then that's what happens, and we
Yeah.
can get paid then.
I'll second that.
Well, you already did.
You already did.
I was just
Okay, just
Yeah.
making sure.
clarifying the motion or what I was trying to.
After spending so many days down a rabbit hole with this stuff, let's move forward.
All right,
It was a dark weekend.
all those in
sorry,
favor?
Yes.
Aye. All right. Town office maintenance.
I left y'all with quotes from Farnham Insulators on moisture mitigation for the crawl space.
I think if you can, everybody can look at the floor right now, you can see the water.
It's not as bad as it was.
No, but you
it's-
can still see it.
It's pretty bad.
But the windows have been open, the fans have been
Yeah.
on, so it has been drying out a little bit. But I have been in here, not lately, but I've been in here when you could smell mold.
Well,
And that,
Monday, we were here,
that can be a,
and it was like somebody had washed the floor.
yeah.
So,
But I mean, if, with the mold and stuff, that can be a health hazard to people. It can be damaging to the building with the water coming in, just the humidity and stuff. So I think that we go forward with the proposal. And I will make a motion to.
there's one thing, and with this proposal, Don did not include, and I believe he sent it out on an email to the rest of the select board, that he would like to volunteer his time.
Yeah.
And it would cost about $150 to put up foam board against the foundation first, before the spraying.
Yeah.
So it would be the $482.32 plus $150.
I will make the motion to approve, we'll do it in two different ways.
Okay.
I'll make the motion to agree to this contract for the $480.32 with Farnham Insulators, and to ask Don to complete the prep work with up to $200.
I'll second that.
All those in favor?
Aye.
All right.
Nice.
Is there a lot of debris down in the crawl space that you're gonna need to remove?
No, there's a lot of rocks that they're gonna have to climb over, but they're kinda used to that. No, we did a pretty good job getting rid of the debris.
Yeah, that was back a couple years ago, right?
Well, that was 2013.
Yeah, that
Yeah.
was
That was a couple years ago.
A couple of years ago. Well, time flies when you're having fun.
Remember, Huffy was 77 years old running a wheelbarrow, that's
Yeah.
all I remember.
Yeah.
May was supplying us, or Cookie was supplying us with lunches.
Yep.
I was down in the hole.
Can I ask as like a conflict of interest point of order thing, is Sandy allowed to vote in second on something that involves Don?
It only, Don's not getting paid for it or anything, so I think
It's
that's
volunteer.
fine.
Great.
And just that we're just authorizing the supplies for him.
gotta keep reminding me of that, I keep forgetting I'm married to him.
Alright, policy review.
Can I just,
Yep.
can we ask one other question on town office maintenance?
Yep.
I've been noticing, just front of this building needs a paint job badly. Is there anything in the works for getting it done? Because I've been
Are you
looking at it. and
interior or exterior?
Exterior,
Exterior,
the outside, so
Yeah.
when people drive by, you know, there's a,
Well, we've had the conversation, about community service.
yeah,
And possibly getting some of the teens to, you know, do the touch-up.
Yep.
So it's something we've talked about, but we haven't nailed down as of yet,
okay.
because it does look pretty.
Yeah, well, I mean, once again, I'm just happy that there is discussion about it and you know, we will get to it very soon, I hope, but, you know,
Yeah,
because it does look,
I really hope with, Tina's help over there, we can get a few of those teenagers out there. So it definitely is in the works.
Good, thank you.
Alright, anything else with that? Then we move on to policy review. Janet, did you want?
Yes, did you guys email, print out a copy?
I did not print it, but I read it.
I didn't print it.
I didn't print it and I don't think I completely read it.
Oh,
I apologize,
It is
Janet.
basically the VLCT, model policy.
yes.
Yeah, that's for the right of way, right?
Yeah.
That's for the highway access policy. And it's plain and, well, I won't say simple, but it's something we've been needing to have since 2017.
Yep.
A policy and thing. Some of the days on the policy, I just put in what I thought would be appropriate. As far as the access permit, I don't think it's right to charge anybody for the permit. You know, if they're willing to do the permit, then they shouldn't have to pay for it. And I thought if we could put it on the town's website and having a the permit here too, it would be easier for people to do the permit. And
Will it be difficult in there to put a PDF on there for it? So people can print it off?
Yep, totally do that. Yep.
no, this is all for the Vermont Agency of Transportation Standards, B-71 and A-76. So we go by the state standards anyway, so this is, you know, we can always change things, but we gotta get something signed so we can be in compliance with the state on that.
I will make a motion that we accept that.
Before you do that, David,
Yeah.
what size culverts did the state standard? Because I heard that the policy was gonna have 18-inch culverts, and the state policy is 15 for driveways. So did you change it to 15, or is it still 18?
Well,
It's supposed to be 15 unless the road foreman designates that it should be a larger size, because the road foreman should look at the installation or
that
the
how
area
the
of
policy's
installation
written now?
before it happens.
Is that how the policy's written, or does it say you need an 18-inch culvert?
No, the policy is written that it's 15-inch unless the road foreman sees that, for example, the floor, water, or whatever, needs to have a larger, you know, and it'd be to his discretion as to how that is. But the state, from my knowledge, you know, the state has even told us, right, that the minimum of 15.
It's
Well,
15.
Certainly in the road, to put a culvert across the road, it has to be 18
Yep.
minimum.
Yeah,
But this is-
driveways
But
is-
for
This
a
is driveway,
But
yeah.
for a driveway, I think
Right.
it is 15.
Yeah, driveways are 15 unless
unless
the
it's
road
gonna be
foreman.
taking a lot of water and the
Right.
Yeah, and then that'd be at the discretion of the
road
road
foreman to.
foreman to
Yeah,
determine it as to the amount of water.
Our road foreman's not here for this question, but my other question in determining the driveway culvert is the size culvert that it is dumping into that is going across a state or town road. If he deems that this needs an 18-inch and that 18-inch is dumping into another 18-inch, is the town gonna change their culvert to a bigger culvert to access that water that's gonna be more?
that I do not know.
Well,
It
but an 18 to an 18,
It wouldn't,
it wouldn't,
it wouldn't cause a problem, or it shouldn't cause a
shouldn't
problem.
cause a problem, I wouldn't think.
Well, I'm saying if there is a problem, then the town's gonna change the culverts across all our roads.
If there was a problem, yeah, change the culvert. I mean, if a culvert was not taking enough, and we've done that
Many times.
over the years,
Yeah.
changed out culverts, made them bigger. So, yeah.
yeah, because it seems like recently, when they've been changing culverts, they've been upping the size on them anyway. They haven't, you know, if it's been an 18-inch culvert, they've been upping that size. Yeah,
24, yeah.
yeah, so it, you know, they're not staying with the same size because as like this afternoon will prove, rain can come down really hard around here. And we've had microbursts and we've had our floods, so yeah, I think the road crew is learning.
Well, I mean, with weather changing, with climate changing and stuff,
Yeah.
it's only reasonable to overbuild the town's culverts, the town's infrastructure. So
Yeah, and
when
I
we get a hurricane, when we get a issue with rain, that it,
Takes it and
Yeah,
does it.
Yeah, and I think,
And-
yeah, the state also is starting to step in, if they're giving us grant money, they're asking us to upgrade the size.
and if, you know, to put in, say, a difference between a 2-foot and a 3-foot culvert, when you're putting it in, isn't a lot of money. But you
Right.
wash out a 2-foot culvert and then you gotta put in a whole new system there, that is a lot of money. So it's only reasonable that we put in, that we upgrade when we are in the process.
So this policy that was under review, for policy review, is this considered our first reading and then we?
Well, we had it we had it.
Yeah,
at
we
the
had it
last
last
meeting.
month too.
Okay.
So this would be the approve, disapprove of it. So I'll make a motion to approve the policy. And if there is an issue, if there's a problem with it, we can always go back and
Yeah,
and
And
review it and
adjust.
change it.
Yep.
So,
I mean, because we gotta start somewhere.
yeah, I'll second the motion.
Any more discussion on it? All those in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? All right,
Did you wanna sign it?
we will sign that.
Are you expecting to have an executive session tonight?
I don't believe that we need one tonight.
That's the date it was adopted, and then on the next page there's the signatures.
Can I bring up a policy that we talked about at the last meeting?
Maintenance of the,
About the family on the upper road who wanted to
The road?
of the
road,
the
name
road.
their road, and we didn't know if they could do drive or.
Okay, I did research on that too. And according to the 911 system, they asked that public roads and private roads have different suffixes to them. So it has been this town's way of doing things to have the word road for public and drive or circle or lane for private. So I think if they want that road as Shady Ridge, it should be Shady Ridge Drive as it is a private road. And I also noticed in driving through other towns, it's the same thing. If it's a private road, it's a drive or it's marked private, so.
So do we need to write up a new policy on that, so that there will be no more, question as to where the town stands on the private road as opposed to?
That might be the best thing to do
I think as the 911
and,
coordinator,
huh?
I think speaking as the 911 coordinator, it would be really helpful to have a policy, so when people call and when I'm talking with the state organizer, that we're all clear on what the parameters are.
Also, I think maybe if we put in there, about renumbering, if we come up with something on that, as we did with Herring Hill and Route 35, when the driveway changed from one road to another, that might be reasonable to have that in the policy as well.
Yeah, although I think the state also, if it actually is a driveway change, then the state has, the E911 board has rules about doing that.
So that's fine, but that
themselves.
might be good just to put in the policy, so if somebody wants, you know, like the people did, they changed their driveway, they wanted their address changed, that you say, sure, this is the policy we have.
This should go to Hannah, right?
Yes.
And I think one thing we need to do is,
The permits are right there too.
way back when,
Can you send me a PDF?
Darlene and Dolly Stevens, Dolly
I
F.H.
can send you
Stevens,
a word.
were appointed as 911 coordinators, which is
Office.
something I ran across.
Okay.
So I think we need to say something about
There-
who is going to be the coordinator.
There have been several coordinators.
Well, this is-
Lois
this is-
Sipple was one.
This is the only one that I've come across that was in the select board minutes, as, so I would consider it official, that you nominated and she was appointed as. So it was Darlene and Dolly Stevens.
I'm thinking that it is, do you know, Hannah, if it's the E911 board that takes our recommendation and then appoints somebody, or do we appoint the person?
As the E911 coordinator? Well, I filled out a form to be the E911 coordinator for the town when they sent it down here.
Okay.
Okay.
So
So I will make a motion that Hannah be the E911 coordinator for the town.
I'll second that motion.
All those in favor?
Aye.
So you put it in there, but I think if you check with the state, they will have the list of coordinators. I was it for a while. Lois Sipple was it for a while.
So, once you're a coordinator, are you always a coordinator, or do
You
you come
are-
on that list?
You are a coordinator until you're replaced. So it's not an appointment that
okay.
you,
Keep forever.
it's not one you keep forever and ever, but it's not one that you redo each year, say, like fence viewing. That's my understanding.
So Hannah's the coordinator until we replace her.
Until we replace her, or she quits.
She's
So,
not quitting.
Hannah,
We're not
I-
replacing
I
herself.
can't imagine that she would ever want to put that.
you'll work on just writing up some sort of a policy for us then on this?
Oh, you want me to write up the policy?
Or- Well, you're the coordinator.
Careful to see how you get sucked into these
Yeah.
things.
So,
I'm just asking, I'm just.
Is there,
Sandy, did you have
But
something already started?
I think that the board
or-
has opinions about which they want in the policy,
I,
Is there,
I looked up some stuff, I don't have anything started, but if you want, I'll do the policy.
Okay.
is there a state policy, like you were saying, with roads and private and this and that?
Basically, what I found in the 911 booklet was the fact that they just ask that there be some sort of differentiation between private and public.
And when we officially named the roads to the E911, we did that. It was
Right, and this is something we have done from the beginning.
from the
is-
beginning of the 911.
Yeah, is a road is public and a drive, a lane, or a circle.
I don't believe we have a lane, do we?
Huh?
We don't have a lane.
No,
We have
but
the
those
drive,
would,
we have a
those would
circle.
be considered the ones though.
Yeah.
But I think with us, it's just the circle and the drive because of Button Circle.
Yeah, Button Circle, you get Trinity Drive, right?
Yeah, and Trinity Drive and
Grout Drive,
Route Drive, and
M&M,
M&M Drive.
what used to be
And
Kennyville
so
Drive,
our,
but they changed that, what was that? And I think it's the select
Kenny
board.
Estate Drive, that's
Kenny
what it is
Estate.
now. Kenny
Uh,
Estate.
I think it is the select board that sets the name of a road, and when we named all of the roads, we took into account people on them, what they wanted to name them, and I think we did mostly.
Well, there were some roads that seem to have had names years and years ago, you know, that you guys just carried on
The same name.
the same name. And there were some roads, like our road, we were TH-17.
Yeah, Reed Road, is that after Roy Reed?
After the Reed, yes.
Yeah, so, and then it became Reed Road when E911 started going into effect.
Well, it was, I think there were signs that said Reed Road before that, but it wasn't
Yeah.
officially named.
It wasn't officially named, but we had roads that the names just had been there and just went on.
So have you, I didn't hear if you made a motion to actually name Shady Ridge Drive.
Well, I'll make a motion that we name it Shady Ridge Drive as it is a private road, and this is how we have done the namings of the roads.
And the recommendation of the E911, state
And
E911 board.
recommendation of
State E911.
E911 state, whatever.
Is there a second to
I'll
that?
second it.
All those in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
was it the homeowner who didn't want it?
Yeah, they wanted road, because it sounds nicer, doesn't it? Shady Ridge Road.
We don't know why
I
they
don't
wanted
like
it.
Shady Ridge Road.
Drive is nice
Yeah.
as well.
And I did check other towns around, and there were other Shadys, but no Shady Ridge.
I'm not done, I've only got these two done because then the meeting started and
Yeah, because we just went into,
Um,
I had the small one to go.
While we're working on the warrants and the mail, we put out bids for winter sand. You like that?
I do, I like this.
Denise, do you like your new stamp pad?
I do, thank you so much.
No, you can't, I'm sorry.
yeah, I did notice that,
Yes,
it
yes.
was running sort of dry.
Send. I go back to send.
It does.
Hey, Hannah, is everything straight with that river? Did they owe us some money?
You'll notice that what we're paying is about $500 less than what their previous slip was, so that's the money.
Okay.
So only received one bid for winter sand. What was last year's price? Do we have that?
This is, wasn't it 16 something?
Okay.
I'm not quite sure, I know last year, Basin came in for like 1785. And JP came in like 21.
Harry, you signed one of them, you forgot one.
I did. Shame on me.
We have 16,000 in the budget this year.
All right. So, this is from, the only bid that we have right now is Basin Brothers. It's 3/4 inch winter sand for the price of $19.75 a yard, or it's a yard, out of ton.
That's not who we got it from last year, we got it from Palmer.
On
Yeah.
Goodrich, with a total of $19,750. is valid for 15 days. And the sand to be delivered to the town garage.
Who was that bid from, David? I missed
Basin
that.
Brothers.
Basin Brothers.
Jim, do you recall, have we gotten our passive grant money yet? For the lighting up at the,
It's not bad with the fuel cost.
Yeah, when the truck.
yeah, I should have asked you in advance of the meeting, and I forgot.
I am not sure, Don, I can check for you on Monday.
Yeah, thank you.
So do you make a motion to accept this bid?
Nobody else seems to wanna put a bid in, yes. I mean, it's $3,000 more than what we budgeted for, but I don't think we allowed it for cost of fuel being up so much last year.
We thought about it, but
Yeah.
I don't think we saw $6 gallon diesel. Is there a second?
I will second it, because that's the only one we have, we really don't have a choice, we need to understand.
Sand.
Yeah.
All right, all those in favor?
No,
Aye. All right. We have a list
So
of.
do I get in touch with them and tell them that
Yeah,
they've accepted?
or you can let Matt know and he can get in touch with him, either one would be fine. We have a list of unregistered dogs in town.
How many? That looks long.
Money. They don't have tags on them, they aren't registered.
Mine are registered.
20, 22, 24, 28.
Eight. Wow.
So I'll make a motion, we turn the list over to the constable to attempt to get these dogs registered.
I'll second that.
All those in favor?
Aye.
make sure my name.
Why don't you give me that, because I have to talk to him anyway
Okay.
about the trash.
Yep.
And there is a grant agreement on highway structure program.
That's it. Your darn van.
I know. I'll be the weight. For you.
I'm surprised the lake company hasn't been putting more lines up on the poles.
What's that?
I'm surprised the lake company hasn't been putting more lines up on the poles.
Yeah.
I have heard that there is some issues with their,
$306.
I believe that's because when
Ability to
Matt
get
and
all the
Eugene were
parts.
cleaning out the garage, they found filters that were still good in the boxes and not usable on any of the equipment we got.
And they gave us money for it?
Yes.
I always like to see those little letters.
Yeah, makes you feel good. The cleaning was goes on.
With all the no ship components on it.
We're getting there, we're getting there.
And has Cassie started with the cleaning?
A couple days ago.
Okay,
It's good.
just wanna make sure.
Yeah.
all right, I will make a motion that we sign the standard grant agreement with the state on the culvert grant. It's a grant of $200,000 from the state.
Oh, that's the one I already had you sign.
The 200,000 for the culvert up
Can I
there?
see this
Oh,
one?
out by Oaks, yes, that's all taken care of.
And why did they send us another one?
I don't know, because I have
Because they
sent
can.
in the insurance certificate and everything to them.
Hannah? Yes.
Why don't
I see.
Why don't
Don't you give it
we
to
give
me?
it to you and you check to see if they need another signature, and if they do,
Yeah, this is,
Or items on
oh,
here
this
from
is,
Stevenson,
this is
and I
an
don't see any.
accident that, Hannah and I had this grant from Erin Sorensen. She printed it out, I already had it, so I had you sign it. So this is just a duplicate of the same grant,
okay, good.
so we're good.
There's 4 things on here for Tim, but I don't see any receipts yet. Are they not in order?
They'll be under T or wherever his
I'm in
name
T now, I'll
falls.
take a look again, okay.
Yeah, I saw receipts when I went through and I did not mess them up.
Okay, here it is. Robin Roberts for Tim Stevens.
So, this form here, we should keep a secure file on it, and it's not a public document,
Right.
but keep a list of any that we get in from the state. We'll pass it around the table, but
Yep.
not pass it around the room.
No, I was gonna,
Oh. Ouch.
There's, Sandy may still have the information.
Oh, no, I put it back. I
Okay.
finally brought it back, I made my own
There's like
copy.
a booklet from municipalities
Yeah,
about, cannabis licenses. Yeah, so that's for you all, I printed that out for you all to read if you so desire.
Well,
get it on the pad there.
take 3 minutes.
I've seen it.
So do we have to vote a town, and I'm not sure on this, you should know. Do we have to vote to allow or vote to not allow?
I don't think the town
I
has
don't-
any say in it.
Yeah, I don't think the town has any say in it from,
You can vote to, I think they can.
I think it's all, as long as he's completely
No,
licensed.
this is retail sales.
Oh, the retail sales part.
That's not what this is.
No,
That's
Yeah.
what-
not
I
this.
do it.
That, these two different things. But the cannabis, control board, cannabis control board.
We have to like not be a dry town to start with.
And we are a dry town, so we are not in any.
Sure, Matt talked about this so many times.
That's mine, you can't have it, sorry.
Is there any reason that we hold on to that special status?
Of
Is it
dry
dry
town?
town? It was voted not that long ago, and when I say long ago, it was 30 years ago maybe, but it was not back in Prohibition times that it was voted. The town wasn't a dry town, and there was a petition because of an establishment that wished to be, to come into place, and there was a petition and a special town meeting, and the town of Oklahoma voted to become dry.
Well, I don't smoke any weed unless it's dry anyway.
That's good to know, John, thank you.
Jesus God.
He only smokes his wife's
Yeah.
stuff anyway.
All right, we're moving on.
Yeah.
Nothing else, Anna, that you know from mail that I have missed?
As we've looked through the box, I think I put everything relevant that comes in there. Is there anything you're looking for that you don't
No.
see?
Oh, you got a super?
There is a contract here with the sheriff. I'll make a motion to sign that. Is there a second?
Second.
All those in favor?
Aye.
You can't read it because I used it in time. I couldn't even save it.
All right. Give these to Hannah.
Yep.
Roads, other than bid, do we have anything for roads?
Matt, Eugene, and Clark's have been all, I guess they're finished. He's got, Matt has a little bit left to do down there on, Hedgehog there. They're widening the road down through there. He's put in 2 culverts to help with the water flow. They did some, ditch lining, stone lining in the ditches there. And, he's just got to do the headers for the 2 culverts that they put in. And, it went really good.
Yeah, Matt was pretty, I talked with him the other day, and he was pretty excited about, the work and all that. Chipping away at the ledge and everything.
Yeah.
So he was pretty excited about it.
He,
Is he using that debris for anything, or is it just?
well, some of it was used for the stone lining, and the other he's trucking home because it's too big, and he's hoping to get a pressure in so that, we get enough to crush. We can make some of our own gravel, or either stone lining, or some of the roads that usually don't get too much gravel. Crush it down. So it's used
All right.
for the roads.
Any further business?
On roads, this question?
Yep.
I guess roads, but, to my knowledge, Drew and Katie are still waiting for Matt to come up there with a document for them to sign. I guess they had contact with him, but he's not come back up.
They're actually waiting for me to give them a document, which I haven't gotten around to, because I have talked to them.
Okay.
And I did find the original agreement, not written, but in the select board minutes, and I believe in the meeting house minutes with little boys. So I'm hoping to take some of that verbiage and turn it into something simple and easy that just says, this is what we're going to do, and after this point, then, it's up to you to maintain it or will maintain it. I'm not sure how you guys wanna go with that either. Do you want the town to be maintaining it? Does the road crew want to maintain that little section just to keep the growth down?
So at the
'Cause-
time of the original discussion with the Lavoys, Brian was going to have the folks that were doing his lawn just once a year knock it down so that it would stay down pretty much.
Yeah, and I know with Matt's conversation with Drew and Kate was, they don't want anything that's there, so anything that's cut down is just gone.
Well, that was gonna go to Grafton Cares if there was any good firewood there.
Okay.
But beyond that, and, you know, from what I recall, for the longest time we were waiting because the chipper was not functional, and that was gonna chip up a lot of, you know, the smaller stuff in the tops or whatever.
Still not functional,
And
so.
so I don't know.
I think what he
And I don't
plans
know if
on,
that has to hold it up.
So why don't we ask, Ivor, when he's doing the lawn there, if he can go over and do it once, twice a year, 3
That'd be
times,
awesome.
something like that?
Yeah.
okay, so I'll try to come up with something in the coming week and I will send it to you. So
Sure.
you can look at it, and then you can send it back to me, and then I will get in touch with
Great.
Drew and Katie.
Thank you. You send it to me so I can have the committee look at it.
Yes, the committee, I'm sorry, the committee.
Alright,
Thank you.
any further business? Not,
In fact, if you give me all the committee's email addresses, I'll just send it to everybody.
if not, I make a motion to adjourn.
Second that.